Okay, so here's the conclusion. And so I'm just going to go through the kind of 10 models of the talk. So in my part of the talk, we looked at a story that suggested that by benefiting indirectly, and in the example it's by earning big and donating, you can do more good than by directly benefiting, even more good. The second was the really important point. You need to do something that wouldn't have happened anyway. You don't want to provide some amount of benefit if you know that someone else would have been in your place doing exactly the same thing. So, a slogan, in order to make a difference, you need to do something different. The third point is to quantify. Thinking with your gut isn't going to be good enough because the scale of the discrepancy between different courses of action is just so big. Third point was just that you can have both a high-flying lifestyle and a massive impact if you so choose. In order to make a huge difference to the world, you don't have to martyr yourself. Then the final reason is just to understand harm, and to understand that to do this, you don't need to harm people along the way. In fact, you can benefit people along the way. Then within Ben's talk, we had a few different possible career paths. Making money, because it's attainable and flexible, earning big and donating. You should think of that as your baseline career choice, and consider going into other areas if you're confident you can do more good in those other areas than you can by making money and donating. Research is one of these areas. If you're an exceptional person and you're working in a neglected but very high value area, you can do huge amounts of good. Influencing, you should consider whether you can have influence over more money than you can make. Whether that's influencing people to donate more money or to make money and donate it, or whether it's through direct influencing such as politics. It's possible that here you can have an even greater impact than if you're going through the money-making route. Then the final 2 points were just considerations to bear in mind. Consider the fact that you'll perform better at your job if you're naturally talented or naturally interested in that career. And the final reason is just to consider the risk that you'll burn out. You need to take into account your own fallibility because that is ethically relevant. So the final conclusion is just that we each, in virtue of being students at Oxford and in virtue of being a citizen of an affluent country, we have the opportunity to do a huge amount of good for those in the developing world if we really aim for it and if we think about this in a systematic, goal-directed fashion. But the means to that end are not intuitive. So the final thing I'll say is that if you've been convinced to any extent by any of the arguments given, please come and speak to us. We already have a couple of people who are interested in high-impact careers. One person, Bastian Stern at Cambridge, who's going to do an internship at an investment fund over the summer. Mark Lee, who's been mentioned, who is going into corporate law, terminating his philosophy PhD program. And because of the wider Giving What We Can community, you'd have an awful lot of support at every stage of the way, from help with your applications onwards. Similarly, if you wanted to become a politician or any other high-impact career, you can get an awful lot of help from a lot of people who'd want to help you make that happen. Thank you.